Hi, good day to you. Today is 28th of July 2023. I'm Thomasin PA2066. I am doing a video recording, 165 video recording on examination announcement and the examination candidates distribution for 2023. Let me begin. Hi, welcome to my channel 165 Exam Candidates 2023. Analysis of 2023 exam candidates versus 2022 and 2020. Hi, I'm Thomasin PA2066, today 28th of July 2023. So this announcement by the Board of Valuer, Appraiser, Estate Agent and Property Managers on the year 2023 examination has been notified in the sense they have a notification. So this notification was issued 26th of July, 2 days ago. However, yesterday, only 27, we actually saw the actual announcement posted in the board website. Then in the same announcement, they were given the candidates who are registered to sit for the exam. So this is a year whereby they announce the name of the candidates and in a way public available, so that we can analyze where are the numbers of exam candidates and where the distribution is about in the whole Malaysia setting. So let me begin. So the objective, as I get back to the earlier presentation, while I do this analysis for number of candidates distribution in Malaysia, the main reason is we want to understand what are the numbers of distribution, how many candidates are sitting in the centers in Klang Valley and how many are sitting outside, and therefore we can understand where are the future distribution of this potential PEA and also REA into the future by region and by distribution of the population of the country. Whether we have a pattern of how many population are there in a certain place, and therefore the numbers of firms as well as the numbers of candidates sitting for the exam. Of course, we have to understand from my earlier, you can go back to my earlier video to understand the background of this diploma in estate agency examination conducted by the board, because there are colleges which are, of course, mainly they operate in Klang Valley, therefore they have supports for this education, and that's why the numbers of students are registered more from these colleges in central Kuala Lumpur and Selangor, whereas the outskirts, because the population of candidates students are less, therefore the numbers of students actually graduating and also operating firm is much less from outside of Klang Valley. Let us see what is the pattern in 2023. So I have done two earlier write-up and also analysis. You can go back to my real property online to look for these two other analysis. One is written on the part of 2020, 2020, and then another one is 095 recording, which is 2022. On the August 2022 last year. So about the same time, this year we got the notification on the 26th. Last year, I guess it was around that time as well. So this is this year's analysis. You can see total number of candidate recorded 154 for JB, 344 for KL, until in the total Malaysia, whole country 621 candidates. These 621 candidates are distributed to these few centers of examination. JB examination, KL is in Spain, and then Penang, Kota Kinabalu in Sabah, and Kuching. So you can say in the total number, the numbers, the highest is in Central KL and Selangor. After that, Johor, then Penang, and after that would be Kota Kinabalu, and Kuching has the least number of candidates. So this is the number ratio from those taking part 2 and those registered for part 1 is 75% to 25%. So you can say the ratio is 1 to 3. So in let's say 3 persons sitting in the part 1, you get 1 person actually going over to part 2 in the eventual time. So this is how we actually say that the exam usually those who qualify and pass the exam would be very much less than the 30% here. So if you can say 100 candidates set for the exam in part 1 until they actually pass up the task 2 and task 1 for the interview and qualify eventually as a registered estate agent, the likelihood will be less than the 30%. Likelihood will be less than 30%. Also here I just repeat which you can refer back. This is the same format. You can refer back to the earlier analysis. Also, only 34% chance of a candidate can progress to part 2. For every 3%, one would progress to part 2, and Kuching has the lowest number of candidates. Likely, these colleges in KL and Johor recruiting students in those areas are the driving force or number of the candidates. So these numbers are not the same as the total number who came out from the executive diploma, the in-house program. Also doesn't include those in the in-span program, as well as those who are taking the degree in the various universities recognized by the board. So this is only those who are taking the board diploma in estate agency exam. I came from this route of passing the exam and qualify as a PEA, and eventually I took my TPC and passed my TPC recently. So this is, of course, the most economical or affordable mode of doing the exam. You only need to pay 50 ringgit per subject paper. For the 6 subject, only 300 ringgit and 30 ringgit. So all in 350 ringgit for the whole exam in part 1, and similar amount also for part 2. So the total amount for the exam fee is only 700 ringgit. Of course, you need to do the exam on your own. You have to look for exam material on your own, and you can sit for this exam like a private candidate. Also, if you are in SPM, you can actually sit for the SPM exam, and also STPM exam and A-level type of exam as a private candidate. So this is similar. You can sit for this exam as a private candidate. No need to go attend any class, and if you pass the exam, like myself, I did the exam on my own self-study and passed the exam, you are as well qualified as a PEA, and doing your interview TPC. After the 2 years diary work, you can pass the TPC, you will be qualified as a registered estate agent to be given the authority to practice. That is the e-license. So this is a summary what I am doing to educate, to give awareness that this particular examination, as you can see, 621 candidates are taking whole Malaysia. Is in fact no barrier thing for anyone in Malaysia to do only a very minimum amount of exam fee. Okay, this is 2023 examination notification. As you can see, on the 26th of July, the board issued this notification. And it says that this year's exam is scheduled on the 5th September to the 7th of September 2023. And also I'm highlighting that examination candidate has to do COVID-19 self-test before entering the examination hall. And there is a procedure to inform as well as to email the test result to the email here, ummu.lppeh@gov.my or nuru@lppeh@gov.my. So this process is the same as for candidates doing the TPC as well. If you go for your TPC interview, you do COVID-19 self-test before you go to the board room, before you enter the board for the interview as well. So for physical examination, before you attend this examination, you need to email to the address here of your negative test kit, the negative test result. So anyway, this is a summary I have given in earlier slides about the distribution of firms in Malaysia. This is 2019 figure, and you can see how most in red background, that means the highlighted colors are places where there are very few firms, and therefore the population per firm is high. And you have the places where you have a high number of firms, and therefore the population per firm is lower lah. So this part I will be incorporating into the analysis of the exam candidate distribution later on. Anyway, just highlighting that this is the whole total lah. So you can see from the part that I highlighted in the box here for 2023, part 1, part 2 total and the percentage of total lah. So this one I have just incorporated just this particular time. Earlier slides, you can see from the earlier video, we did 2020 and 2022 lah. So this is the 2023 figure incorporated into it. So if you compare 2023 to the earlier years, you can see that our ratio from 3 to 1, 2022 was 3.9 to 1, so almost 4 to 1, and then 2020 was 2.6 to 1. So this part, the reason maybe is due to 2020 being, under COVID, all the businesses are closed, so therefore all the colleges also have no classes, so there's less recruitment of students. That's why probably the intake for the part 1, the new students are less. So the reason that because of that 2.6 versus the current time when you get 3.9 and 3. Also now, because 2023 we have smoothened the effect of COVID. So 2022 could be some students they lag in earlier years, they jump onto the program, so the recruitment was higher. So that's why there's a 3.9 versus the current number, which is 3. So general, I think trend would show that probably about 3 point something to 1 for those who pass the part 1 and go to part 2. This is a likely scenario. And you can see that the population who takes the exam also stays about the same, about 25%. If you look at the Johor side, 25%, and compared to 27% in last year, and then 32% in 2020. And Central KL Selangor is 55%, 58% and 57%, about the same. Penang is 11%, 18% and 6%. Much variation in Penang. And KK is about 5%, earlier years 3%, and 2020 also 3%. Kuching is hovering about 4 and 3%. So there is higher number percentage now, maybe because there will be more students who are coming on board as on majority of the outskirts catching up because of the opening of some branches of the firm. Because some branches of the firm goes out to outskirts or on this aspect that the Klang Valley has a lot of firms, so the firms are opening branches. Therefore, when they open up branches, there will be outskirt interest in doing this profession, and therefore maybe for that reason the outskirts are increasing in numbers. So we have gone through this sorting. If you listen to my earlier video, we have sorted out that Klang Valley includes more of even Negeri Sembilan. So this part, Klang Valley has almost 12 million people, and Penang and northern state we include Kedah and Perlis, and southern state we include Melaka into JB. So these population changes may reflect also the firm distribution, because we group the firms according to the same manner we group the population. So you can see a number of firms in Klang Valley is 65% of the whole Malaysia, and more than half of the firm in Malaysia is in Klang Valley, Selangor, and only East Malaysia state about 3 to 4%, averagely about 4% per state, East Malaysia, and you have about 12% in Penang and 12% in JB. Right, we progress that this analysis we incorporated 2023 to easily see the distribution of firm and the number of candidates. So in Johor, you have 12% of the firm, but you have 25% of students actually whole Malaysia doing this program in Johor. 32% in 2020 and then 27% in 2022. So this means that the effect of colleges opening up in Johor or recruiting students in Johor would have affected the number of candidates. We don't have a college in East Malaysia, so East Malaysia stay around flat at about 3 to 4 to 5%, whereas Penang maybe fluctuates a bit, 8% to 6% to 11%, and then the firm number is 12%. So how about a population percentage? We want to see how is this population percentage of whole Malaysia correlates to the intake of students or student interest as well as the firm number. Let us see. So here, this is the analysis for population percentage. So how I get population percentage is by using the population in Selangor, KL, and Perak, and then divide by the total 27 million. Because here I did not include some of the other areas, so therefore you see it less than 32 million. So our Malaysian population, it should be around 32 million, but this is excluding some areas. So that's why the total number is less. Anyway, it gives an indication that 43% of the population of 27 million is in Klang Valley, and then 17% of the population is in Johor and Malacca, and then Sabah is about 14% of the whole Malaysia population, whereas Sarawak is only 10% of the population. So if you look at the firm number and the distribution, you see that the highest concentration density of firms are in Central, and this correlates to high number of students. Similarly, high number of firms in JB and also high number of population contribute to 25% of the population of students. East Malaysia, although we have percentage of population is 14 and 10, but then the numbers is actually very much less. So this one I box up to indicate to you that some areas where the population actually show that it should be more candidate doing this exam, but the actual effect is that it is less. That means 11% is less than 15%, 5% is less than 14%, and 4% is less than 10%. So it means to say that there's very few probably colleges as well as interest in among the candidates in East Malaysia side as well as Northern Peninsula side to do the diploma exam. And I don't think there are colleges that give the so-called special program in this region. And in fact, this region would be in the lack of future agent. So if there are no interest in this region, eventually one day there will be very much reduced number of registered agent, and therefore the firm number will be affected, the firm practice will be affected, and it means open up to illegals as well as those who actually do not have firm to attach, negotiators who are in short firm numbers, therefore negotiator cannot attach to the firm. Not enough registrant to carry their duty to oversee those firm operation. So the candidates in the sense, if you are an examination candidate in this region, then you would be looking at high chance of securing a job or high chance of operating a firm, as you are less in the competition compared to area like maybe Central KL, Selangor, as well as maybe even higher competition in places like Johor. Okay, how about the difficulty of examination and also the trend of which subject is difficult? Here you refer back to 2022 video taking. You will see that the summary would be in part 1, difficult papers are tax and marketing, and 70% who are doing all full. So I would take 6 subject full as new student, and the loose people are the one that repeat or having to do part-time. For that, they do not want to take 6 subjects in one sitting, so they are actually supposed to be smaller in number because a new student taking 6 subjects should be higher in number, and they pass the papers and then they become the lesser minority who have to repeat. So if you are very good, you can pass all the 6 papers, you go to part 2. So in part 2, in the all 2022 analysis, the new student in part 2 and the one that passes and doing loose, that means they have failed some subject and doing part subjects, actually about the same, 50%. So new student and the repeat student about the same number. So which means if you are a good student, the high chance that you pass, and therefore you are no more in this program, you have graduated, right? So if you are averagely 50% passing mark, then 50% of the population will go to repeat. Another 50% have already passed. The 50% left behind would repeat some of the subjects, and they are the loose subjects. That means they have to repeat maybe 1 or 2 subjects. So this means that 50% passing mark is very clear here. You can see there's not many which is a higher number. So that means most of the papers are equivalent in its difficulty to pass. Whereas in part 1, the higher percentage one are difficult to pass paper, and this tax and marketing. Now we want to see in 2022 what is this pattern look like. So this is in 2022. You can see in 2022 the amount of people going to part 2, the full paper one is higher than the repeat one. That means there are those who actually resulted from previous passes, they come on board, so they're taking full paper. So because of 2022 exam passing, then they came on to 2023 part 2. So this number is high, and meaning to say that this is a good trend. People pass up from part 1 and pass out to part 2. So it's about 43% repeating. It means that some are actually still repeating, but averagely you can say that most people are able to graduate and pass. And in part 2, not much difference in paper in terms of difficulty. You are looking at 18% here for land economics and law relating to property, whereas the estate agency practice EAL are 16-17%, and the lowest is BT2, which is the easiest to pass in part 2. All right, so we go to part 1 is the interesting one. So if you look at part 1, the meaning to say there are more students coming in already, because 43% versus 69%. That means when the colleges are recruiting new students, a lot of new students coming in. So therefore you have actually in the earlier days 2022, because after COVID, so there will be a lot of new students. So the new student came in 69%. So now we have softened it because 2023 already no more COVID effect. So new student may not come in as like expected before, and the recruitment of the student become plateau. So this means that the number of students coming in to dilute the repeat ones, those who stay on in part 1 and still have to repeat actually are affected, because the numbers now 57 versus 33. So a lot of people are still left in part 1, not able to pass some of the subject because of the earlier intake. So earlier intake have moved on to loose subject. So the loose subject ones actually are increasing here, 57 versus 31, whereas the new intake stay maintained and the lower number at 43 now. So the scenario is likely this program, a lot of first intake one plateauing, and a lot of them actually who took 6 subjects in the last exam now stay on as in part 1, but then doing their repeat subject. So this is a scenario from analysis of 2022 to 2023. And if you see from 2022 to 2023, the difficulty subjects, the difficulty subject for marketing has gone up to 23%, and for tax has gone up to 20%, whereas for economics reduced to 12%, for law reduced to 13%, accounting is the same, and also lacking type of candidate seems to be more now in the part 1, because the reason is there were many who did not pass some of the papers, especially marketing and property taxation. They are difficult subjects, so beware of these difficult subjects. There are some who are split strategy, not doing the whole total 6 subjects, but this strategy is due to some of the maybe reasons of part-time work, as well as not able to commit due to family matters. A lot of them actually quit the exam halfway. So you see 3% in part 1, you see only 1 in part 2. So 34% of the part 1 goes to part 2. This is as in expecting that the part 2 actually most of them will pass. So we will say that the 34% from the part 1 will go to part 2 and later on eventually pass out as a PEA, and the left probably half of them, 50% of them would not do the TPC. So you will be looking at even less, even less. So until the end, probably only left with half of this 34% qualifying as a REA. So the qualifying number for the diploma and estate agency exam probably is about 10 to 15% of the total population who started the exam. So if you are one of the or two of the 10%, you are able to finish this exam. It is a huge achievement for you. And the reason also is no support, heavily relying on the support in Klang Valley. Looking at the number of firms and the students coming in this exam, Johor is much more than Penang. And we are in East Malaysia, and East Coast states are very much no support, and therefore no increased number of students taking the exam. You can see that we are having 10% of the population to 14% of the population, but our percentage in taking the exam is only 4 or 5% of the total population in the country. So the divide, the preference on divide is a matter. In the future will be very few registered agent in East Malaysia and the East Coast state. Thank you very much. I'm Thomasin PA 2066. Today is 28th of July. These are my various URL website for you to follow up on what I do. Thank you for visiting my website.